All right, guys, let's get this video out of the way. Now that we got some concrete news involving Canelo Alvarez and then what exactly he's going to do next, okay? It's been a wild week. Um, I missed out on content during this time, and I'm not mad at it. This is one of those scenarios where I'm glad I waited to see exactly what was going to happen. And we still don't know a lot. Basically, Canelo has signed a 4-fight deal with Riyadh season, okay, with Turkey Al-Sheikh. And he's going to fight Terence Crawford in September. But the other 3 fights, we don't know who the opponents are for sure yet. They haven't been confirmed. All right. For his next fight, the word is going around that it's going to be either Jamal Charlo or Bruno Sarace, the guy that just knocked out Hamid Makia. I don't know how that's going to be the guy, because he's supposed to be fighting. Sarace is supposed to be facing off against Hamid Makia in a rematch. So I doubt it's him. But Jamal Charlo's name has come up. We don't have nothing concrete, so I'm not going to give you my opinion on any of that until we actually know who the opponent is. You know, because I'm not going to sit here and criticize him or big him up for a fight that we don't even know who he's taking. But look, before we get started with this, because there's a lot to discuss, a lot to unpack, Turkey Al-Sheikh does an interview with Mike Coppinger from ESPN, right? And it's a 30-minute interview. I just listened to the entire interview. I know most people are not going to want to listen to that because it's a very long interview, but he talks about a lot. I strongly suggest, I know Turkey is very, he talks very slow. So I know it takes a long time when he's getting to his point, to make the point. But I strongly suggest you guys to listen to the interview, because he talks about a lot of things when it comes to boxing. All right. He talks about what's going to go on with the heavyweight division, what he planned, the schedule. He talks about the schedule, what he has planned for Riyadh season, all the different cards. But he also talks about Tank Davis. He talks about Inoue possibly fighting Nakatani in December. These are fights that he wants to make. Okay. He talks about the titles in boxing. He talks about Jake Paul and what he thinks about him being a YouTuber and an influencer boxing. He talks about a lot in this video, but one key thing, and I want to start this out with bringing this up because I think it's very important. And I know everybody is focusing on Crawford and Canelo and Jake Paul and all that, but Turkey said something that is very important. And during this week, it was reported by the Ring Magazine Twitter handle that the fight between Crawford and Canelo was off. All right. There were some other things that was being reported during the week, but he said, and he said twice in this video, in this interview he did, that he is putting out false information, and he's letting people jump and run on this false information. Okay. Which I've said, this happens. And a lot of content creators, a lot of people on social media, a lot of reporters as well will run and make a reaction off of it. Journalists, whatever it is you do, they react off this news. And meanwhile, Turkey is making moves behind the scenes on what's official. And he's going to wait until he drops what's really going on and hit us with that after. You know, so this is one of those situations where all week I kind of been quiet on this thing, because it started with we already heard that Crawford and Canelo was going to fight, but there was a report that went viral saying that the fight was actually agreed on. Then it turned into a 3-fight deal with Canelo Alvarez. We didn't know who. Then we saw that the fight was canceled between Canelo and Crawford. Everybody that day reacted to it. Everybody. Like, I was just looking at my phone a little bit. Everybody reacted to it. Talked about Crawford, Canelo ducked him, all this stuff. Right? Jake Paul news come out. Remember when I first seen it, I literally waited like 12 hours before people were sending it to me right away. I didn't even react to it. I just said, let me just wait. Because This reminds me of last year when before Canelo fought Munguia, right? We got 2 months of hearing reports. Benavidez fight agreed on. Uh, Jamal Charlo the next opponent. You know, Belanga, who he eventually did fight, was next up. There was a million different reports every other week or so. But this time, within a few days, we heard a ton of different reports. You know, Jake Paul was supposed to fight Canelo for Netflix, and supposedly that was a real deal, a real thing. Jake Paul has already responded to Canelo saying, you know, he docked him over. Listen, now officially, Turkey Al-Rashid told us that there's a 4-fight deal with Canelo Alvarez, and the only fight that's locked in is his September fight. So Canelo's gonna fight someone in May, right, for Mexican holiday weekend. He's gonna fight Crawford, and then he's gonna have 2 fights in 2026. Okay, with Riyadh season. All right. So that's the news. Again, false reporting. I really don't like it, but who am I to tell him what to do? You know what I mean? Everybody's reacting. I think this is still a great way to promote the fighter and keep their names out there and keep everyone talking about the fight. But you know, if it's coming out officially, people are going to react to it. I get it when rumors are made and there's no real source, then I understand people going out, putting out false information. When actual journalists and established media post it, it's like, damn, this wasn't even real. You know what I mean? And luckily, I didn't react to it. I kind of like to wait. But it is what it is, man. All right. But this is official. So what do I think about it all? Well, you know, like, I don't know who Canelo's going to face in May. But when I made a video about this before, I figured that William Skull was a good opponent. But now that I think about it more and more, being that this fight with Crawford is such a big fight, I doubt it would be against someone that can possibly pull off the upset against Canelo Alvarez. You know, and I'm not saying that like I would be picking Canelo to beat Skull, but he's a pretty good boxer, you know. Skull watched him moves well, fast hands, puts his punches together well. You know, and hungry, and you know, he's fresh, you know, and he's the IBF champion. And I know he doesn't really have a name, but I think that it's not a bad fight. You know what I mean? And I actually think that fight right now would be more difficult for Canelo than Jamal Charlo or a Bruno Sarace. I know Bruno just knocked out Jaime Munguia, but I thought Jaime Munguia was very overrated for a really long time. And as far as I'm concerned, as a 168 pounder, he is not really legitimate as a 168 right now. You know, based on his move up and who he's fought and the outcomes of these fights, he's been chinny for a minute. You know, Derenchenko hurt him throughout their fight, and you know, Sarace, even though he knocked out Munguia, Sarace did get dropped in that fight. He was clearly losing the fight up until the knockout. It might have just been a lucky punch, or Munguia is kind of mean. Canelo carried the fight. Canelo held the man up when he was about to get dropped. Canelo did not want to fight a Mexican fighter, and he basically helped the Mexican fighter in the ring that night. And that was how Munguia. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with William being the tougher opponent. We haven't heard anything about Canelo facing him. And I also think he's tougher than Jamal right now because Jamal is just inactive and mentally he's not strong right now. You know what I mean? So I would go with William over those two right now as being a more difficult fight. And I can see why they don't. Or I don't know if they don't, because we might hear an announcement tomorrow that he's the next opponent. We might. Uh, we don't really know how any of this is going to go. All right. Um, but if that fight were to happen, it would be an undisputed fight. And that would mean that when Canelo goes to fight Crawford, that would be an undisputed fight as well, which would be big for Crawford, not so much Canelo. All right. That's one question I probably would have asked Turki Al-Sheikh if I was interviewing him about that. Jake Paul. When I saw it, I was kind of disappointed in the sense that I thought Canelo being the face of boxing and all. I thought he was. I thought he made enough money and was a big enough name to not even entertain that fight. And even though the fight is not happening, it's like Turkey had to stop it from happening. Even though Turkey said, Canelo doesn't really want to take that fight, even though, and I do believe he doesn't really want to do it, but they're going to be offering him a lot of money to take that fight, which I would expect them to. I can see why Canelo would take it. I know every boxer would probably fight Jake Paul if they had the opportunity after the Mike Tyson numbers. You know what I mean? Um, but I thought Canelo didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? Especially as an active, unified champion. In Turkey sets, Jake Paul, he's cool with him fighting other YouTubers and other influencers. Like he made a joke and said he should fight Mr. Beast. But he was just saying, making a point like Canelo's in his mid-30s. Canelo should fight him in another 30 years when he's in his 60s. This is basically what Turkey said. He's not a big fan of the whole influencer boxing against actual boxer thing, and I'm not either. And I was kind of shocked that Canelo was going to take it, but it is what it is. You know, Canelo, and I've said this, and I know the Canelo fans get mad at me. I don't care. I don't care about the emotions of fans online. What I've been saying, Canelo is since the Bivol fight, Canelo has taken fights against good fighters that are really beatable for him. You know what I mean? John Ryder, you know, Jamel Charlo coming up to the 2 weights. Jaime Munguia, who's always been pretty overrated, and the totally um, inexperienced Edgar Berlanga. And I think Edgar, who has been improving, because I thought he improved in the fight prior to Canelo, he is improving as a boxer. But I think part of the reason why he was able to go the distance is because his size. I mean, he was massive in there. He's a big dude. Um, I think, and I've been saying that for years. And whenever you say the B word, people go crazy on him. I wanted the Benavidez fight, and I still want the Benavidez fight. And I figured I blame PBC for not letting that fight go down. Being that Benavidez is one of his fighters, why do a deal with Canelo and pay him what, 50 million per fight, or I don't know what they were paying him, but you pay him all that money and you don't even allow him to fight your fighter. It's David Benavidez, you know. But I'm convinced that Canelo doesn't want to fight that guy. Especially at this stage in his career and basically at the opponents that he's fighting. Again, we don't know who he's facing next. But if he's going to be facing Crawford in the fall, I'm not expecting this next opponent to be, anywhere too dangerous. Not anyone too dangerous. You know what I mean? So I really don't have an opinion about this 4-fight deal because we don't know who the other 3 fights are. We don't know who the other 3 opponents, but Turki Al-Sheikh brought up David Benavidez, and he said that's a fight that he would really like to make between him and Canelo, but I can't really see it happen. You know what I mean? To be honest, Uh, Instead of making it a 4-fight deal, pay Canelo a 2-fight deal and have him fight both Benavidez and Crawford. And pay him all the money he wants. Because I don't know what he's getting paid, but I know he's getting paid a lot. And Turkey said he didn't match the Jake Paul deal money. He said he didn't match it, but he did whatever he paid him. Canelo's getting paid not to fight Jake Paul. Hey, listen, Canelo's a great businessman. Like, it's not front. He's making a lot of money. He's doing what works for him. A PBC or a Turkey wants to pay him millions and millions, tens of millions or hundreds of millions at this point. If he's gonna pay him north of $100 million, and he's allowed to have some control over the opponents he's facing, why not go for it? Same with PPC bringing out Golden Boy and Golden Boy fighters and Matchroom fighters to go over there to fight on their platform over there on Amazon last year. You're not really letting your fighters fight Canelo, but they were paying him way more than what they're paying anybody else over there. Canelo was winning, because it's like a bidding war whenever he's fighting, because he is the face of boxing. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And Jake Paul too. Jake Paul is winning, bro. I have nothing bad to say about that guy. I have nothing bad to say. The guy went from fighting Nate Robinson, basketball player, to washed up MMA fighters, to former MMA champions, to former MMA icons, to former boxing icons. Like, he took a loss to Tommy Fury, and it's like no one even brings it up anymore. No one even cares. Where's Tommy Fury? What is he doing right now? Like, no one cares. So to go from fighting Mike Tyson to fighting Canelo Alvarez, he's leveled up each and every time. Because Canelo is not even like a Floyd when like Logan fought for Floyd. It's Canelo's active and he's holding 3 titles. And that fight was about to go down. So Jake Paul, I gotta give it to him. Like, he did it. Even though the fight's not happening, just the fact that it almost did happen is scary. It's scary. It almost happened. And I thought Canelo was the one fighter around those upper weights that wouldn't fight Jake Paul no matter what. But money talks. At least not until after he retires. But, money talks. It is what it is. But it worked out because now he's with Riyadh Season. Crawford. I was doing some thinking, and I was saying that maybe he should have a tune-up as well, because he's gonna go another year of just fighting once a year, and he's not gonna have a tune-up leading up to Canelo. But being that he is the B-side in this situation, and he knows that if anything were to happen, it would mess up his opportunity, because this is not a fight that Canelo was interested in. He's not going to take a fight in between. I think he's just going to prepare, work on, preparation on the weight. I think the weight is a big thing. I hope he doesn't come too heavy. He just had his first fight at 54. I personally don't think Crawford should come in too much over 160. You know what I mean? Because I think he needs to be as quick as possible. He needs to keep his speed, and he needs to focus on movement. I've always said if this fight were to happen, I think the fight to go to is the Victor Postol fight, even though Victor is not like a pressure fighter. But the amount of movement that Crawford did, fighting on the back foot, that's the fight to go to. It's just that fight was a while ago. So for him to do it at 37 with constant pressure from Canelo, who's leagues above Victor Postol, different kind of fight. And I think he shouldn't be relying on size. I think he should rely on speed and movement. um, for this fight. It gets too heavy, he's going to slow down. Um, and I just, they feel like, again, probably not going to have a tune. He's been fighting once a year for some time. I'm not going to pull up his box rec, but he hasn't been really active. And a lot of this has been issues with Top Rank, holding off for the Errol Spence fight. Just, PBC at the time they was in control of the welterweight division. You know what I mean? They had the best fighters at the time. And a lot of them weren't getting in the ring with Bud. So a lot of time would pass. And they probably figure like, shoot, why even fight anyone and risk getting in there? Canelo's gonna do it because he does it. That's his thing. He does the May September thing. That's his holiday. So I understand for him, but if he decided to sit out and wait, which is not happening, but if he did, I would understand too. Um, but yeah, since it seems like it's official now, I'll probably be doing like a pre-breakdown for that fight between Crawford and Canelo soon, similar to how I did with Spence and Crawford, since it's a big fight. I haven't really, I've gone back to fights between the two, just to start having an idea where I can see more so for Crawford, being that he's a smaller guy moving up, to see what exactly he can do in order to just beat Canelo. But yeah, uh, I even seen a report of Turkey saying I want to throw Crawford in there with boots in September if Canelo does. Like there was a lot of shit that was going out. And I was just watching from the sidelines with my popcorn, yo, this is too much information within 72 hours. It's just too much. It's changing every day. But again, I love what Turkey is doing. Um, it's just as time goes, he's getting more and more involved in making things quick. He doesn't like to waste time. So I give him credit for that. It seems like everybody's happy. Again, what do I want? What do I want? Well, initially, when the news came out that the fight was off, I was already planning on making content on this topic, and I was going to tell you guys, like, oh, Crawford, at this point, I would still love to see if he can pursue his original mission in trying to become undisputed at a third division, and champion at a fourth. And for Canelo, I'm always cool with. I always wanted him to fight Benavidez. If they could find a way to work it out, that's always going to be my stance. If not him, maybe get in there with a better BF or a Bivol. There's not much at 168 that I want to see from him right now. There's the rumors of him, Shiraz and Eubank. Yeah, I'm not as interested in those fights, for Canelo. But I still feel like Canelo's consistently, and I think he's continuing to just ride off to the sunset and make as much money as he can on his way out. I don't think he's fighting to show greatness right now. I think he's just fighting for the bag. And some of you might take offense to that, but again, says Bivol, I think the Bivol fight changed him a little bit or it changed the public, because before that fight, people were saying Canelo could beat Usyk, and Beterbiev and all these guys. After that fight, people calmed down a little bit. They toned it down. All right. So anyway, I think I addressed everything, man. Again, it's all this information is still incomplete, because all we got out of all of this is knowing that Canelo almost fought Jake Paul. We learned that, well, we didn't even learn about Crawford because we know he was going to fight Crawford anyway. But we know there's going to be 4 fights. We just don't know who the opponents are exactly. All right. So all I'm hoping is that the fights are quality fights. and just want to see some more good boxing. That's all. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, please. I will be looking to see for your, your comments and everything. Again, go to ESPN, go to Mike Kopinger, watch the interview. I think it's a very informative interview. It's a very good one. If you're just chilling, listening like you are here, just check it out. It's a good interview with Turkey Al-Sheikh and Mike Kopinger. And we're just going to have to wait and see what happens from here. All right? See who Canelo's going to fight in. Also, let me know what you think about Bud going straight into the Canelo fight without a tune-up. Is it good for him or is it bad? All right? I'm sure he's going to be doing a lot of sparring against bigger guys, which he probably already does. I know he does with Steve Nelson, who's in his camp, but, who else is he going to be prepping with for that fight? All right? Maybe he should spar with David Benavidez. That's who he should fight because he got to deal with the pressure. That would be great sparring. Hopefully everyone stays healthy leading up to these big fights. All right. Anyway, I'm out. Please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Share the video if you love it. And I'm out. I'll see y'all later.